perfection is about holding deposit and lending rates below market clearing levels. So basically, the state forces the banks to provide loans at a lower interest rate than they will be given by the market. So it is an incentive to take loans and to have access to cheap capital. But the key is that in East Asia, those rates of interest were always higher than inflation. So there was always positive. And all the countries also have a very strong focus on exports. So we say that those countries spend within their means. They did that through taxes, but also because they have very positive balance of trade. Trade was 19 to 10% of GDP. And this state-oriented industrial policy focused on export competitiveness. They wanted to develop industries to export, that they would be able to compete in global markets. And it was the government that selected and promoted winner industries, those industries that will have access to cheap loans and will use that loans to develop export platforms. So that was key. They moved from being producers of commodities, like African countries or Latin American countries at that time, to industrial exporters. And that shift is what made the difference. Africa and Latin America are still commodities producers. So that creates an unusually rapid exporting growth. And in order to do that, they all started protecting domestic markets. So there were restrictions to trade. That also talks about the historical moments. They would not have been able to do the same now with the World Trade Organization working the way it is. At that moment, all those economies were very heavily protected from imports. And they also used credits for exports. So companies who focus on exporting, they were given credits and training to know how to deal in international markets. And there were state institutions providing advice and developing technology to help exports. So the key here is that they all started as protected economies and then gradually shifted to more open economies. As they became more competitive, they were opening to imports because they already had a local industry which was competitive enough. And there was also protection in exchange rate. The currencies were originally undervalued to promote exports. And there were adjustments to the exchange rates in other Asian economies. There was this idea of regional integration. There was a similar level of competitiveness between the countries in the region. So, in addition to that, there was also focus in education, infrastructure, and equity. It was all in stages. First, they wanted to develop universal primary and secondary education. So the aim was to obtain universal literacy. Everybody should be able to read and write. So secondary and primary school was first compulsory, then secondary, and only then university, and always with focus on skills and technical profiles. They wanted to develop technical secondary schools because they wanted to develop these absorptive capabilities to create skilled labor force. So there were high levels of investment in public infrastructure, in health, transport, service, and communication, and very strong support to research. In terms of equity, there were very high taxes on luxury consumption. So people who wanted to have luxury goods, they had to pay higher taxes for that. And that taxes were used to subsidize investment in public infrastructure. There was land reform. Some farmers were owners of the lands they worked in. And this is also other key factor. In developing economics, distribution policies create social cohesion. Social cohesion means that members of the society see themselves as part of a common thing. They work together from a same objective. Social cohesion is a condition to create the climate required to promote investment and growth. Countries who does not have social condition have conflicts, have internal problems, and they don't develop the situation of economic or social stability that they are required for growth. So this is why they were doing this. There was also an economic focus behind. And this is also that not many countries have done. So, if we compare with the Washington Consensus policy that we saw in the previous lecture, we can see that they only have one aspect in common. It is the importance of macroeconomic stability and austerity, spending within their means. In other aspects, trade liberalization was not a priority. The emphasis was on exports, rather than opening the economies to import. And capital markets were also liberalized very slowly. There were no privatizations. The government focused on creating efficient enterprises, rather privately owned or state-owned. And in most of those countries, except Singapore, they have restrictions to FDI, because they wanted to develop local industry without dependence on foreign capitals. Instead of that, they used these industrial policies. There were also local differences. Not all the countries do the same. For instance, Koreans have national champions, very large firms supported by the government, and they were like representing the country in the global economy. And they started by focusing in mass manufacturing sectors such as electronics. Taiwan was totally the opposite. They tried to develop small firms, but that were focusing at the back end of the value chain, so far from final customers. And then they were moving forward. And those smaller firms, they worked together with public sector research institutes. And they were encouraged to look for foreign partners, to develop alliances with foreign partners and learn from the foreign partners. And there was state ownership in the manufacturing sector as well. So they work within a federation of strategic alliances. A lot of small firms working together in alliances with state-owned companies, research institutes, and foreign companies. So totally different from the model in South Korea. Singapore, again, totally different model. Singapore didn't have anything. It was a country which didn't have labor force, didn't have natural resources. The only thing they had was a strategic position. Very well located for trade and for exporting to other countries in the region, from Australia to Japan. And so what they did, they opened the country to foreign investment. It was the only country at the moment that allowed foreign companies to go there. So they could also impose very good conditions on the foreign companies, allowing the development of local firms as suppliers and allowing training and technological upgrade. And they also created public sector research institutes to develop local companies and to improve their relations with foreign multinationals. And since the 2000s, they are focusing on technopreneurs, entrepreneurs and technology. And the Chinese have a very pragmatic approach. They use the three models. They have large firms, state-owned enterprises, like the oil company, the Chinese oil company. They also have small firms and supported with public sector investment. and that's what they call the township enterprises. It's more at the local level. And they also have an open doors policies in 1978, in which in some parts of the country they allowed multinationals. Now it's widely